Next, we want to have, speaking of brave people, but it's interesting who the media wants to pick on the most, and it was fascinating to me that the person that they wanted to pick on the most in regards to this incredible lineup was our next speaker, Neufeld. And so, Barry is a very courageous man, willing to stand up for children in his local community, and it is a pleasure to have him here today. Would you welcome him warmly, please?
Good morning, and thank you for coming out to stand up and speak out. I'm honored to be included in your list of speakers. I'm especially honored to be on the same podium as Derek Sloan. We have one thing in common. We've both been kicked out of the Conservative Party. I was notified by email, and I have it framed hanging on the wall right beside my Community Hero Award, which I got from the Conservative Party only a month earlier. For those who know me, my objection to the gender fluid theories of Soji 123 has never had much to do with faith or religion. It is based on my many years of professional experience with emotionally damaged and traumatized children who are often victims of physical and sexual abuse. However, 3 years ago I made a prophecy that the day would come when the state would force parents to accept their child's decision to transition their sex, and if a parent objected, the child would be removed and placed in a home where they were free to explore their new identity. The hostile media mocked me and called me a religious nutcase who was now calling himself a prophet. Actually, I said that I hoped I would turn out to be a false prophet. But to my horror, what has taken place is far worse than what I predicted. I never imagined that a father who objected to his child being given cross-sex hormones would be jailed. Mind you, he breached court orders by identifying himself and his child, but he did it due to an unbelievably unjust decision of the court. He was ordered by the judge to lie about his child. This is the first time the court has ever ordered people to lie. If truth has deserted our courts, we are in trouble. Although it is too late to save his own child from damage, he wanted to use his experience to warn other families of what could happen. Soji 123 is not inclusive, it is divisive. It has the potential to wreck families. So I have endured 3 years of insults, censures, put-downs, and calls for my resignation as a publicly elected school trustee. I want to express special thanks to my colleagues on the Chilliwack School Board, Heather Maas and Daryl Ferguson, who have always been there to me to encourage, defend, and strengthen my resolve. I could not have done it without you, and I thank my hundreds of friends and supporters who continue to encourage me, even if I may have taken a couple of false steps. But the abuse I have endured is nothing in comparison to the teachers, support workers, and students in the public school system who bravely cling to traditional family values. Those people are being ostracized, shunned, and ridiculed. But now it is my turn to call for some resignations. First, I call on the BC Minister of Education, Jennifer Whiteside, to resign now. She falsely accuses me of spreading hate. She spent a lot of money to investigate the Chilliwack School Board to try and find a way to get rid of me. It was a waste of time. The report recently released and was unhelpful, that this report would be perfect on the bottom of a parrot cage. Simply put, it is full of idealistic goals that will never be able to come to fruition in the short time targeted for meeting that goal. We have until October 31st, 2021 to ensure we are inclusive. I already believe in inclusivity. The person who's dancing in the front of the stage. But I also care about the emotional needs of troubled children, and I want to protect them from being confused and damaged by this unfounded and dangerous experiment. Minister Whiteside, in your efforts to be trendy and woke, you are putting troubled children at risk of harm. Your Ministry of Education has done a miserable job of providing mental health supports to troubled students, especially during the last year of COVID restrictions and fear. You seem to have only one solution for troubled kids: gender transition. I agree with Kiara Bell, who said, I also call on professionals and clinicians to create better mental health services and models to help those dealing with gender dysphoria. I do not want any other young person who is distressed, confused, and lonely as I was to be driven to conclude that transition is the only possible answer. Minister Whiteside, your policy of affirmation only is destroying many lives, and in particular your policy has destroyed the family of ABCD. Secondly, I call on Stephanie Higginson, President of the BC School Trustees Association. She interfered in the Chilliwack School Board election by saying she hoped more progressive trustees would be elected. Ms. Higginson, in your position as chair of the 400 or so school trustees in BC, you must respect everyone's opinion. You must not be so laser focused on left-wing dogma. School trustees you lead are becoming redundant as the powerful unions have increasingly more control over policy than publicly elected trustees. And you, Stephanie Higginson, are doing nothing to prevent that. You call unions partners in education. They're not partners, they have become your masters. And you don't have the courage to stand up to the government Ministry of Education. Because of your refusal to re-examine parts of SOGI 123 that are so destructive to families, I call for your resignation. I have served public education for 25 years and I believed in it. But these last 3 years have shaken my faith in public education. If the ministry will not re-examine SOGI 123, I will warn parents to take their children out of public education system. Before activist teachers destroy young bodies with drugs and destroy families by turning children against parents. Finally, I call for the resignation of my own Board of Education Chairperson, Willow Richel. She has badgered me and bullied me for 3 years. As a leader, her task should be able to create a team and collaborate to find compromises that board members can support. But she is too rigid to compromise. She is married to an activist member of the BC Teachers Federation, and she recently launched a lawsuit against me to try and get the court to remove me as a trustee. And this lawsuit is being funded by the labor unions. And her lawyer is Adrian Smith, who tried to put a stop to this rally. This is a clear conflict of interest for the chair of the school board to be involved in a case paid for by the union. But I have thrown a monkey wrench into Ms. Richel's gears of destruction. This week, I took a page from Glenn Hansman's playbook and brought Richel's lawsuit to a halt with an anti-SLAP application, which stands for Opposition to Strategic Lawsuits Against Public Participation. In a sense, SLAPs are lawsuits, or the threat of a lawsuits, just like Ms. Richel's, that are directed at individuals like me, in order to silence and deter my criticisms and advocacy for change. I plan to prove, Ms. Richel, that your motives are vicious and vexatious. It is impossible for a Board of Education to function if one trustee is suing another. One of us has to resign, Ms. Richel, and it ain't gonna be me.
Barry! Barry! Thank you so much, Barry.